does our catering. And very, very nice it is, thank you very much. Kelly has many hats and does lots of things in her life, and she's here to tell us about a bit of the other side of her life.
Thank you. Thank you. So yes, some people know me from catering for these events for the last, goodness knows how many years I've been doing this. And some of you will know me from the days of Avalon, when we were out on that site in Tapuna.
Or uni.
Yeah, and university as well, absolutely. But the main hat that I do wear is I'm a parent to a neurodivergent 15-year-old boy, Riley. Now, Riley has more letters after his name than I will ever have. He doesn't want them all, but unfortunately he has them, so we make the best of that. Now, navigating the system, if there is a system, I've probably been in it, I've probably navigated it, and I would love to stand here and give you a positive story. But the reality is, it's been extremely challenging. It's been an uphill battle from day one. And for any new parents in the room that are going to be seeking support, like I say, I would love to give you a positive story, but it is truly not easy. It's not easy. I've known that Riley was autistic pretty much from day one, but he has only received diagnostic recognition of being autistic this year, in his 15th year. Along with the other diagnosis he holds, he has an ADHD diagnosis, he has epilepsy, he's asthmatic, he's celiac, he has chronic fatigue syndrome, which is a major hangover from a viral infection about 5 years ago, which unfortunately results for Riley in debilitating pain along with the fatigue. So there are many days when Riley simply cannot get out of bed. Riley has been enrolled with Tikura for the last 4 years, and truly that system has saved my child's life, and I do not say that lightly. And the article that came out last week or the week before about Tikura, and it was a really scathing article about the kids that are enrolled with Tikura not doing the work, not participating. There may be a few, there may be some, but for a lot of kids that cannot go to mainstream school, that cannot sit in a classroom not designed for them, it is a lifesaver. Now obviously what this means is the last 15 years for me has been determined by Riley's health patterns, essentially. And at different times I have tried to go back out to full-time work, and invariably it doesn't work. Invariably I have to come back home, work from home, or go back to study. The biggest transition for me and for Riley was when he transitioned between primary and intermediate. And that is when I had most engagement with most organisations. I see nodding heads around the room already. I feel you're gonna hear me. So that transition quite literally put my child in the hospital. So he was at primary school 3 days a week. Intermediate, the education system expected him to go 5 days a week. All of the information that the school had did not transition to intermediate. I did everything I could with extra visits, meetings, emails, but as a parent, you only get so far. So this was 2020 as well for Riley. So school went back in February. By March 19th, he was on 24/7 watch in Tauranga Hospital. This is a week before lockdown for everybody else. At 11 years old, my child had decided he was done. And he looked at the psychiatrist and he said, I have done everything that everybody has wanted me to do for 11 years, and I cannot do it anymore. That is a system failure, let me tell you. Now, my child is alive, and he is mentally well. Physically is always a challenge, but currently he is mentally well. That is because he is at home. He is at home almost 24/7. Today, whilst I've been here, he is going out with a mentor. I tell him he must go out twice a month. Any more, and I am pushing the boundary. So that was 2020. As everybody else was going into lockdown, we were transferred to Auckland. I don't know if anybody has ever visited or stayed in CFU in Auckland in the mental health ward. I do not recommend it. It is not a place that you ever want to end up. I repeat, my child was 11. The worst thing about this situation and navigating the mental health system is that at no point was he believed. If there is anybody in this room that works for an organisation, be it mental health, be it education, be it general health, be it child welfare, legal, New Zealand police, whoever it is, please listen to the people that you are supporting, and please listen to the parents of those children or the caregivers of those people. Because if he had been listened to, what if I had been listened to 14 years ago, we may not have been in that situation. And I would never say that you could receive a diagnosis too late or seek a diagnosis too late, but I strongly believe that if Riley had had the support that I continued to ask for in the first 10 years of his life, he would not have had a mental breakdown. And I make that statement, and that is a big statement to make, but I'm as sure as I can be that it would have changed his life outcome. Because at 15, he won't leave the house. So if you want to talk about funding, I mean, if you have a child who doesn't leave the house, how am I supposed to spend that funding? Yes, he's going out today, but twice a month is not going to be enough to spend the funding. Lego would be great, because he builds Lego, but we can't buy Lego. So over the 6 months from that March, like the systems and the organisations that I just listed, I was involved with every single one. So mental health system, education system, the legal system, New Zealand Police, Oranga Tamariki, any organisation, I was in it. Because also what happens when you end up a cog in this wheel is you get passed from one to the other. Again, I see lots of nodding heads. You get passed from one to the other because nobody wants to deal with you. Maybe you're in the too high basket. They're all holding on to their funding because they all work in silo. Mental health don't want to spend any money. Oh no, education can pay for that. Education don't want to spend any money. Oh, and if in doubt, we'll pass it to Oranga Tamariki because it must be a parenting problem anyway. But I'm not going down that rabbit hole just yet. Over the course of 6 months, like I say, we were admitted to Auckland 3 times, and he was taken out of school. Lockdown was a godsend for us. It might not have been for anybody else, but honestly, I got to come home and sleep in my own bed, and I didn't have to go anywhere. And I wasn't in a mental health ward with my child, so that was a bonus. The best people that I dealt with during that time, that 6 months when he was really mentally unwell, was the police and Oranga Tamariki. And I never thought that I would say that. And when other organisations, I'm trying to be very careful, other organisations continued to refer to Oranga Tamariki, I was not happy about that, obviously. But actually, they were really in my corner. They got it. I had police officers that would be on the phone to the crisis team, to Oranga Tamariki. They answered the phone every single time. Again, you do not want to be in that position because it means you're at the bottom. You are at the bottom of the barrel if you're making those crisis team calls if you're making police calls, but I've been there. And somehow, I stand here on the other side. Some days I'm not sure how. But I know my child best. And come hell or high water, nobody is going to tell me different. And I truly think that is what got me through. And I fought every step of the way. But it should not have to be that hard. It should not have to be that hard. He should have received his autism diagnosis many years ago. He should have had support in mainstream school, because potentially he wouldn't be enrolled with Dakota now. Potentially he could go to school. I don't know. And I think that's the thing that gets me, is the loss of potential opportunities. That's the thing. And nobody's recording that. That is not data. The loss of possible opportunities. Like I say, Dakota has been a lifesaver. The police were amazing. What I also have done during that time is I was at university, like Carly said, and you've moved, Carly said, and I gained my master's degree in social policy. I was studying social work, but I realised very quickly, as I'm sleeping on a mattress in the locked mental health ward, that as a social worker, I was going to do nothing that I wanted to do within the system. I wasn't going to do the magnitude of work that actually needed to be done, because I couldn't. I wasn't going to be able to. So I switched majors and I got my master's in social policy, and my thesis research centres around this exact thing: parents navigating systems. And you are not alone. And I know that doesn't help, but you are not alone, and it is not okay. There are parents all over New Zealand with the same story. There are parents all over the world with the same story. And the people that suffer are our children. I am so lucky that my child is alive today. And I do not say that lightly. And I'm going to say it's because quite literally I fought to the death to keep him alive. My research will tell you, I spoke to professionals in New Zealand. My interviews consisted of professionals in New Zealand, and my literature review consisted of research from around the world. And they all say the same thing. Parents need to be believed and not blamed. Support services need to be transparent with what they can offer, and not pass the buck to somebody else who is then not going to be transparent, because this is a cycle that people get into. Support services need to be accessible. You look at the people around this room, and this is a stone in a pond of the amount of people that we need to reach. But the bottom line is, there's so many parents that can't be here today because they're all at home. They're all at home, homeschooling their children because they can't be in mainstream school. So how do we reach those people? We have to find a way the system has to find a way to do it better. We have to find a way to keep talking, to get it out there. Because if we stop talking, trust me, nobody wants to talk about how many police call-outs you've had in the last 6 months. Nobody wants to talk about their suicidal teenager. These are not comfortable conversations, but they are the reality for so many, actually. And we're a country of 5 million people. We're not a lot. We could make a lot of difference real quick if we did things differently. Absolutely. Carly's nodding. Carly agrees. Absolutely. And I think, those are the things that my research found. That's my personal experience. And I work with parents. I advocate with parents. Anything that I can do that keeps this conversation going, I will do. Because I can, and if I can, then I will. You know, Riley said to me this morning, because I explained he knew I wasn't going to be home after I had delivered the catering, because usually I deliver and go. And he asked me what I was speaking about. So I explained it was about navigating the system. And he said, so you're feeding people and trying to save the world. And I'm like, well, you know, why not? I can, so I will. And we have to keep the conversation going. Yeah. And I'll finish early.
Hi, my name is Hayley. Most of you have probably seen me around and know my story. For those of you who don't, let me recap quickly. I was born with hydrocephalus, which basically means excess fluid on the brain. Multiple brain surgeries have left me with an intellectual disability. Throughout my life, I have faced continual challenges. One of the big ones was transitioning from high school to adult life and finding a job. In my last year of school, I participated in a transition program with CCS Disability Action. We spent time thinking about my future and what it could look like. I had a dream to be a receptionist. Together, we looked at how I might achieve that dream. I applied to Polytech to enroll in the Level 2 Business Admin course. I was crushed when I found out at the interview with Mum that I wasn't accepted because I have a disability and that they didn't think I would succeed. We decided not to fight them. If they didn't want me, I didn't want to be there. So it was back to the drawing board. People everywhere suggested that I do the cafe course at the Polytech. I thought, yay, talking to people and making coffee, what a great job. So that was good. I passed the course because everyone passes. But the truth is that it was too fast-paced, way too stressful for me to cope with. So that was another knockback. We were now another year down the track. I wanted a job so bad. I worked with Workbridge and Sage at the historic village. I found they didn't really get to know me. They didn't take the time to find my limitations or strengths. They helped me create a CV. They also helped me apply for jobs that were way out of my league. To be honest, I didn't get any more than a CV. They wanted to work with me alone. The truth was, I needed a support person with me to get started. I didn't have the communication skills or the understanding to do it on my own. I suggest if you are going to use a disability employment organisation, insist on taking someone with you to each meeting. Someone who really understands you and the way you tick. It felt like I was back in the playground. I was being pushed to apply for the jobs I wasn't capable of. When it came to interviews, I couldn't compete with fully able people. I was continually knocked back. What little confidence I had was crushed over and over. I was fortunate. My parents were in a position to purchase a Domino's pizza shop. They created a job for me. They took the easy parts from everyone's job and turned it into a job for me. I worked from 8 till 12 every weekday. Mum worked alongside me. She was always at the shop with me. If I got stressed or confused, she was there to help. Mum had everything organised. She knows I love a checklist and her organisation. She had strategies to help me be successful. I learned to get out of bed every day and be at work on time. I was successful until my dad got sick. They had to sell the shop. The new owner didn't want me. We were back at square one again. What was I going to do with my life? Mum arranged work experience at the Salvation Army op shop. The idea was that I would gain some experience. I hoped to get a job in retail. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I had to change my expectation of what the job might look like for me. We soon realised this was not going to be the job for me. I couldn't cope with the till. I couldn't give change. The manager didn't like me because I was too slow. So, op-shop volunteering came to an end. Mum and I decided to give it all a break and not try it so hard. It was stressful and I wasn't happy. Instead, my support worker helped me create a YouTube channel. He filmed intros and outros for me. He taught me how to edit videos. I shared about having a disability, how I get through some of my challenges, and how I live independently. This gave me confidence in myself. I hope that one day I could work with people with disabilities, because that's where I belong. I spent time getting involved in my community. I joined Special Olympics, Heart and Soul, and the Achilles Running Club. I was meeting people and getting out and about. As I got to know people, my network was getting bigger and bigger. I was offered my first paid job through Special Olympics. I was a support worker for 3 hours, 3 times a week. I supported someone who has more challenges than I do. I was so proud. I got a job without the help of Mum and Dad or my support workers. I did it myself, through the connections I had made in the community. It did become too much. I was stressed and anxious, so we reduced my hours to 1 3-hour shift a week. I still have that job. As I met more and more people through Special Olympics, more opportunities came my way. I worked up to having 4 clients part-time. At the start, I took on too much and I had to give some up. But as I got used to working, I increased my hours to the maximum that worked for me. I was contributing to society. I finally felt good about myself and looked forward to going to work. I have learned that you take every opportunity that comes your way. You put your foot in the door with volunteering, you get knocked back. You get knocked back. You cry, you stress, and you get back up and try again. There's so many ups and downs when it comes to finding a job that suits you. It's a huge learning curve, even when you find your dream job, but you never, ever give up. I've said it before, it's actually my motto. Every day's a challenge, so let's embrace it. The challenge of finding a job is never ending. It goes on and on. You get knocked back and discriminated against, purely because you have different abilities to others. Keep an open mind. The job you end up with may not even be on your radar. It may not even be your dream job, but it's a start. Use the supports around you. Get help with applications. Practice interview questions. Be prepared, but most of all, get involved in your community. Let people see who you are and the skills you have. Let them see your potential. But most of all, never, ever give up. You're guaranteed to get knockbacks. Get back up and give it another shot. Putting myself out there has opened so many doors for me. I am now on various disability committees. This year, I became chairperson for the IHC Have a Voice Committee. With support, I lead a team of disabled people who plan and run events in the community. It's a group of us running events for us. It's kind of cool hearing what others want to do in the community. I love being a part of making it happen. I've learned the most fulfilling parts of life involves doing things for others and not necessarily being paid for it. My hope for you is that, like me, you'll find your dream job, your dream spot in the community. It took 10 years of volunteering and putting myself out there to get my first paid job. I love it. I hope you'll find a job that you love too. Thank you.
Thank you, Hayley. That's a very good place to end the session today on a positive note. Once again, thanks for coming, everybody.